Do I need the microphone? Yes. Must I have it? Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Shiri Katalan, and I'm here to talk about how to use the same marketing tactics that everybody's using, but not in the way that everybody's using them. And the use case that we chose for this is podcasting, but I have quite a few of those, so if you want, feel free to come and talk to me after this. All right, so our story begins about 2 years ago. I was the head of marketing for an early stage small startup called Tatio. And what we were doing, what they're still doing, is virtual job simulations. Now, that time was the best, most creative time in my career. And I think there were three top reasons for that. The first one was that I had amazing, amazing founders. Maya Huber, the CEO, Mor Panfil, the COO, absolutely extraordinary women. But also, they gave me complete freedom. Second, I had extremely limited budget, which is always, the key to success. And third, that did not stop us from having very ambitious growth targets. And something about the combination of these three brought a lot of creativity into the process. And let me just jump to the end. Not only did we meet those growth targets, we met them twice over. So happy ending there. I thought it was me, sorry. Okay, so we were looking for a marketing strategy that will help us generate as many demo meetings as possible. We needed to shorten the sales cycle, so to get from top of the funnel to demo meeting as fast as we could. And we had an assumption that if we built the process in a way that every touch point was extremely personalized, high touch, that would get us there. And we needed it to be cheap, extremely limited budget, I remind you. So we decided on podcasting because we thought that if we talk to our guests, which are going to be our personas, the people in the market that we needed, if we talk to them and we started a connection there, then we're going to be able to shorten the sales cycle, and also because it was quite cheap. And so podcasting was chosen. Now, we had a few goals for this, but the most important goal was demo meetings. Content creation was only number 4. And that meant that if what we got from this is really amazing content that everybody's sharing and talking about, or if we got from this, being really well known in the market, or if we got from this great relationships, that was great, but that was not good enough. Demo meetings is what we needed because we were an early stage startup, 2023, in the middle of an economic crisis, and we needed demo meetings fast. A war was about to break out, and so things needed to happen at that moment. So demo meetings. And all we needed in order to get started is basically a logo and Zoom, preferably Zoom Premium, so the recording doesn't stop after 40 minutes. But usually when people talk about podcasting, they tell you all the things that you need to have, all of the steps that you need to follow. And they talk about, an acoustic room or Riverdale or an editing software or all of those things that are quite expensive and equipment and so on. I'm here to tell you, you don't need it. All you need is Zoom and a logo, and that costs $0, which is the budget that we had for this. And that is how we started, with those two things. But even though this was quite cheap money-wise, we found out that it was quite expensive everything else-wise. So we had an SDR on this who was sending the cold emails and the cold calling because you needed to get people on the podcast and nobody knew us, so nobody was approaching us. And we needed to enrich the leads, like to get the phone numbers and so on. That was just a bit of money over there. And Maya Huber, my CEO, was the host at the time, and she really, really hated it. It cost her time, it cost her money, and so she kind of hated me, which is never good. So we were paying in other ways. But we had a lot of people paying attention. People were listening to our podcast. People were downloading. The success metrics were looking great. People were liking our posts and commenting on them on LinkedIn. Nobody ever commented on our post, because it's LinkedIn. Nobody ever comments except for people from your company, right? So that's great, right? Wrong. Because how many demo meetings do we have? 0. And we wanted demo meetings. So fortunately for me, I was working for a company that didn't have a lot of money. So red flags were raised quite quickly. We knew that something was wrong very fast. But I'm guessing a lot of you people are not as fortunate, right? Some of you work for companies that actually have a budget. And so it may take a while to pay attention that something is wrong. And I think that there is something that happens here to a lot of us, something that definitely happened to me. I had a goal, and I chose the strategy to get there. And I kind of like went down the rabbit hole of that strategy. And I was measuring the KPIs that you usually measure for that strategy. And I was following the playbooks and, doing everything that needs to be done in order to do the strategy well. I was enslaved by the strategy, but I lost sight of the goal. And so once we realized this, we went back to the drawing board and we said podcasting is still the thing that we choose to do. We believe that this could be done with podcast, but we need to get a little creative with what we do with it. And we developed 4 unconventional tactics for using podcast. We use them in conferences. We use them as a grilling tactic. We use them in what I like to call the Brad Pitt capturing method and reaching the ultimate networking achievement. So let's dive into those. Conferences, from interviewee to SQL. So any of you who has ever worked for an early stage startup for a small company that nobody knows in the market, you can't get meetings in a conference. It's really, really difficult. Nobody wants to talk to you. You are completely unknown. What they will do is they'll show up for an interview. So what we did, we had a booth at the conference, so we had the attendee list. And we emailed them before the conference to about 100 of them, the best, the most qualified leads. And we told them nothing about the company, nothing about the product. We told them, please come for an interview. We would love to talk to you in our podcast. You don't have to prepare anything. Meet us at the booth. We'll sit at the side and just talk about this for 30 minutes. And that worked really well. Now, I want to say something here. We were sitting at the place where you eat lunch in the conference. So the waitresses are going by and people are talking in the back. So the recording is not perfect. I did it on my phone. But my purpose is demo meetings. Content is number 4. So it's fine. I prioritize demos. And so I don't care if the content is not amazing. And I would sit with them, and we built the interview in a way that allowed me to have a smart follow-up conversation. So once the interview was done with, I would tell them, listen, you said this and that. Now, here in Tatio, which is a company that I worked for, we've been learning about this. This is a part of our product. So we've spent a lot of time learning this. And what we found out is 1, 2, 3. Which made us develop our product in 1, 2, 3. And so I feel like you should know that 1, 2, 3. Now, I did not pitch because pitching makes everybody's ears tingle, right? You can recognize a pitch. But I did have a hook there talking about the product, and I said something that basically said, we're professionals, we know what we're doing. And this worked really well. So emails to podcast recording was 13%, but podcast recording to demo was 80%. Most of the people took the hook. And what happened there is that I told them if they asked for more information to hear about the product, I would say, listen, no. I'm only the interviewer. I'm not a salesperson. I'm a professional, But Yaron Karg, who is right there at our booth and is the best SDR in SDR history, and also the person you want with you at a conference, he would love to talk to you about this. And of course, I escorted them to the booth because we don't want people to have freedom to do whatever they want with their time, and we want them to get to where we want them to get. So that worked out really, really well. Grilling, keeping your leads, your SQLs hot. So you have a person that has just been through a demo, and that person ghosted you, or they told you to call them again in 6 months because now is not a good time. Or you just have a really good feeling that they could be the next deal, but they don't want to talk to you right now. So what we did is that we used a podcast in a way to keep them warm and interested. And we didn't just do the podcast. We had a whole journey there. So we recorded the podcast, and then we sent them an email saying this is going to go live. And after it went live, we told them, listen, we got some great responses about this. We sent them a cookie package, which is always nice. Everybody likes cookies. It was branded. Sorry? Well, I think people usually like more the sweet kind, so that's what we went for. But, find out. And then we proposed further content. So we said the podcast was doing so well, let's create a blog post on this. And there was a whole correspondence around that. And we also continued commenting on their, LinkedIn and stuff like that. We sent them an email when a conference was about to come and said, do you want to have coffee? So there was a whole relationship being built there. Very high touch points. So once we completed this, I feel like these people were dreaming about us. And this was a great success as well. So I want to say these are not big numbers, right? Not hundreds of people, but SQLs to interviewee rate was 55%. People want a stage, offer them one, and they will show up. Interviewee to re-sparked interest to people who wanted to talk to our account execs again was about 30%. So that was quite well. Now, this is what we were all waiting for, right? The Brad Pitt capturing method. So we all have the Brad Pitt of our market, right? That person that's never gonna talk to us, but we really wanna work with them. They're never gonna listen to a pitch. They're definitely not showing up for a demo. And we want a way in. So what I used to do is I would approach these people, my Brad Pitt, after they were talking at an event that I attended, and I would tell them, listen, I just heard your lecture and it was so good. It has to be heard by more people. Please come and talk about this in my podcast. So I was basically telling them, you don't have to prepare anything. We're going to use the same content. Just show up. And that would work. And so this would probably not get you a very short sales cycle and maybe not even a demo meetings, but making your dreams come true is also important. And last but not least, reaching the ultimate networking achievement. So what we found out, is that after we've been podcasting for a while, and after we had that whole journey of podcasting, of like talking to them over and over and over again, we got to conferences and we were in a really good position. People were high-fiving us and they wanted to sit next to us in lunch, and you know that sitting alone in lunch in a conference is quite sad. We were invited to dinners, to the dinner parties after the events, and with some of the people, we got to what I like to call level 5 in networking. Those are people that sat with us to dinner and drinks, and we all shared embarrassing stories into the night. So this is a great tool to put you in a good position in the market. So those were our 4 tactics for podcasting. I'd like to sum up with 2 things. First of all, don't let your tactics become the goal. Don't be enslaved by your tactics. Make sure that they're helping you reach your goal. And for me, once I've realized this thing, that there was sometimes a problem there, that sometimes we follow the playbooks and the benchmarks and the success metrics of the tactic and not of the goal, something happened to me. It's like my chakra opened or something. Because I started looking at all those tactics and asking myself, can I use them in a different way? Can this be done differently? Maybe not all the playbook and all of the steps are necessary. Maybe I can take some things off. Maybe I can add some different steps. And so what I'm trying to say is get creative with your tactics. You have those amazing tools. Try to see if you can use them in a different way. And for me, again, what I've discovered is that there were things that I were completely leaving off. I was saying they're too expensive for me, they're too heavy for me, I can't make this happen. But then when my chakra opened, I was looking at them again, I was revisiting them and saying, well, I can't do ABM the way ABM should be done. It's too heavy, it's too expensive, I'm a one-person show back in Tatio. But maybe I can do it in a different way. And so we did this thing, we called it ABM Lite or ABM for the poor, and it worked out really well. So revisit the things that you're already doing and see if you can use them in a different way. and revisit the whole marketing world of possibilities and see if you can do that and get to different amazing goals that you couldn't before. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
We have time for 2 burning questions. Yes, at the back.
Wait, you assume that I'm going to remember the first question once you get to the second one, which is not true. So I'll just answer that really quick and then, okay. So the question was, most people are reluctant to go on podcasts. It's not that easy, which is what I said before, right? We were bleeding into the process before that. So how did we get people to go on it? And the key was the conferences. We started, like, after not succeeding very well with doing the cold calling and the emails, we started with the conferences because it seems that there is different dynamics there. People are already there, their calendar is free, they don't have a million things to do, and now they're willing to spend the time. And when you make it very easy for them, and you tell them that they don't have to prepare and so on, they were willing. And here I just want to say that it wasn't, just small people from our target audience. We got the most important people in that specific conference to come on the podcast. So it was a great success. The conference was what got us started. And once we had those people, it was easy. Did I answer it? Okay, thank you. Yeah. I never got there myself. In the conferences, I sent them to Yaron, the SDR, Yaron Karg, and he did the pitch. I never pitched it myself. And once we got off the conference and it became something that we did and ongoing, it was already used in a different way. It was used as part of the cycle, of the sales cycle. So somebody has already pitched them. Now we're just keeping them warm. So we used it in a different way that kept the podcast as this professional tool, and somebody else was doing the pitching along the process.
Afterwards, we'll have Shiri will be around all morning. So sorry, but 15-minute rule on 2 questions. So thank you, Shiri. Woo!